Hello, beautiful souls. This is Anu Grace, and welcome to this beautiful interview with my very special guest, Tim Wilde. I know you will love this powerful hour or so, as we will be diving into Atlantean frequency and ascension pathway to give you as much support as possible for your soul to rise up and quantum leap from the old paradigm to this new energy. So we'll be talking about that, the shift and how to do it and how to work through some of those blocks that may be in your energy holding you back from reaching your highest potential and from getting into the flow of the fifth dimension. So Tim Wilde is an ascension worker. He's international speaker and crystal expert from Dorset, United Kingdom. He is a Hay House author. He's co-authored 2 wildly successful books with Diana Cooper called The Archangel Guide to Ascension, 55 Steps to the Light, and The Archangel Guide to Enlightenment and Mastery, Living in the Fifth Dimension. 2 beautiful books, and those of you who know me and my work are aware of my connection with Atlantis, with the crystalline frequency, with the Atlantean energy, and how that is essential part of my teachings. And Tim is absolutely one of the world's leading experts on Atlantis. And when I first met Tim in Helsinki a couple of years ago, as we shared stage at I Am Expo, Minä olen messut, we became fast friends. This is probably due to the natural Atlantean soul connection that we shared. And those of who've been following my posts know that Atlantis completely changed my life and helped me make that decision to really rise up to my goddess power and to start living my truth and doing this work at a completely different level. So I've been using this period as a blueprint, as a lifestyle guide, and in creating my high vibrational dream life. I've been using that as an example, as a guide, as an angel. So I'm very excited to have Tim Wilde join us today and to present you with this beautiful interview.
Here we go. We're live. Yay.
Yay.
How are you?
Great. How are you?
Yeah. I'm good. Sort of ducking and diving with the energies at the moment. It's all good fun, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, tell me about the energies in the moment. What are you feeling? What's happening?
At the moment, it's what I've kind of identified is that we are receiving our energy directly from the great central sun now. It's not getting kind of stepped down through our own personal star, the one that should be shining in our sky, but is covered by clouds and rain at the moment. But so we're getting all of this kind of like tip top, like fresh to use, kind of is described as plasma. Sananda described it as plasma. And if you do not shape that stuff correctly, if you don't be very vigilant with your thoughts, your words, your actions, and your general kind of state of persona, things go south very, very quickly. And so it's basically a speeding up process of our thought manifestation reality. We've had a bit of training time and now we're kind of right in the thick of it. So yeah, happy days.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so spot on what I'm feeling about the energies with everybody, to be really clear where we're directing our energy and our thoughts, and it's great learning experience.
What I've noticed is it's causing a lot of anxiety. What people tend to do, everybody's got good intentions when they get out of bed in the morning. Your feet don't hit the carpet in this job, and then you intend to have a crap day. You intend to kind of keep things as high vibe as possible, but things happen. We've got our own patterns, we've got our own thought processes, we've got things in our life that tend to trigger us, but they are becoming more of a problem now, because the second you fall for that trigger, the second you you let yourself, you put your guard down. Basically, you are immersed immediately in a very powerful energy which is not supportive. So yeah, and it's, everybody is wired as a result of it. Everyone is kind of like feeling their emotional bodies like electrified with this vibration, which we've got to be in alignment with.
Mm.
That's
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We haven't connected in a while. I'm so happy to be talking.
well overdue. Well overdue.
Absolutely. So, just as a side note, I'm going to do the intro separately, and then so we can just keep going and
yeah, absolutely.
Let it flow. So
Let it roll. Excellent.
how are you? What have you been doing? What's going on in your life?
Just crazy Ascension, family, work, kickboxing, kind of the same amalgamation that it's been for about the last 6 years, really. But things are having to become streamlined because of what we do for a living. Obviously, I'm getting a lot busier with my work, as you are as well, and I'm overseas at least once a month. So it's it's interesting. The balance is the interesting part. Maintaining equilibrium whilst in all different aspects of this biosphere of reality. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the humanness of it all, like balancing, like you say, balancing life and this work where is needed are the discipline, the right frequency, and still being human. So that's
totally.
You mentioned kickboxing, so that's a cool balance there.
That's my grounding agent. As you with the Taekwondo, it's a massive part of my life. I'd say it's. I would find it if I wasn't teaching, I'd be doing that for a living, kind of thing. I'd be teaching that for a living. It's become an integral part of my existence because it's one of the few things that will ground me. It will take me out of any kind of potentially disruptive scenarios that I have going on in my energy fields, and everything feels much better afterwards.
Kick a little bit and
yeah, get in the boxing ring, everything's great afterwards. It doesn't matter what you take in there. When you leave, all is good.
Yeah. So what do you feel? We're both fresh black belts about the time when this is
yours is coming up really soon, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. So
your progress has been incredible. Like, that is so fast, you know, like that's not missing a single grading kind of progress.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, for me it's taken like about 3 years, and with private lessons. Private lessons. I'm like driven. I was like, I want to have like a black belt because it's cool and it feels amazing. I just wanted to improve in it because
exactly
it's just a beautiful, not only physical grounding tool, but it's been a powerful spiritual teacher for me in terms of sacred masculinity and being in the warrior energy, and it translates into it helps me and supports me in my manifesting, and overall with holding space for other people. How do you feel like, how does that martial arts style, that energy support you in high vibrational work?
In my high, it's a funny one because there's a lot of there's another Hay House author called Charlie Morley, who's also a kickboxer. He trains and fights with exactly the same style that I do. He got his black belt quite some years ago, and he competes. I don't, because of, you know, I'm 47 this August, and I'm working on my black belt. I haven't done that many tournaments and competitions. I love them when I do, but it's not been quite so much my focus. It's been energy wise, it's completely grounded everything that I do. Before, everything was kind of completely up in the air, and I would struggle to. You know, it's one of the easiest things in the world to call in a lot of light it's a different matter to actually integrate, ground it, and use it in your everyday life. So I find, like, you know, the kickboxing has been that missing link, but there's a big kind of, there's a big view out there, and you might have encountered itself, like, you know, the Love and Lighty crew sort of saying, well, what do you do? That's physical violence or whatever. And yeah, okay, you put a gum shield in and you get in a boxing ring, and it's all systems go. But there's a lot of love, there's a lot of respect, you know, and I've never fought ever in a state of aggression. It's always skill, discipline. Obviously I want the trophy, I want the shiny medal at the end of it. That's natural. So it's honoring that aspect of yourself that already exists, because a lot of people sweep it under the carpet and go, oh, that simply doesn't exist within me. Well, within me it does, and I'm going to honor it. So yeah.
I love it. I feel like this is what we need. I feel like maybe we can talk about this a little bit, but some people who start the spiritual journey, they feel like they need to let go of their humanness. They need to become angels. You know, they need to become perfect, spiritual, always, you know, just eat lettuce and
never angry.
Yeah. So, what do you say to people? Because that even, unfortunately, feels like sometimes people decide not to start meditating or not to explore this world because of their fear of well, do I need to stop being human?
It's something I wrestled with myself personally. I'm very acquainted, I'm very kind of connected to Archangel Gabriel. Archangel Gabriel is the archangel of purity, clarity, and grace, and every other kind of aspect. And for years I would focus on my perfection, my spiritual perfection. Okay, I would think myself to be a dreadful light worker if I did anything that was kind of out of what I would consider my little box of light workery. And it's a big part of our spiritual journey to be accepting of our humanness, because, you know, we're heading rapidly into 5D. We are going to do this. It's closer than we actually think it is. But we've got to take that aspect of our humanness with us. We can't leave it behind. We're doing this ascension process in physical. So when we've passed into this golden era, we're not going to completely leave that humanness where it was. We're going to be taking that with us and integrating it. So we have to accept it. We have to work with the parts that we don't like. We have to face the shadow. All of this stuff that Merlin kind of has been nagging us from his Saturnly kind of throne for a long, long time. And it's for me, it was huge, because I used to think that being spiritual meant being perfect, and it doesn't.
And what you're explaining sounds like exactly the Atlantean way. In Atlantis, in the Golden Age, we were able to bring together that human aspect and the science and the joys of pleasures of being human, and still creating this fifth-dimensional world. So.
This is the blueprint we're rolling out now. You know, this is the part that gets me so excited about the job that we do, is the fact that we are essentially rebuilding on a blueprint that we had to put away for 10,000 years, simply because it was not viable to apply that to 3D life. But, you know, it's been a long, dark, dingy, crappy 10,000 years where humankind had to learn what it was like to be that disconnected from source love. And we've done it, we've learned. You know, I don't think there's any lessons that have been kind of left out of the equation. And when I was first kind of privy to the information that Archangel Michael was giving me in 2008 about my personal contribution to it, I was told that 6 billion people would be going through the ascension process. 6 billion people is nearly 2 billion short of what we have on this planet at the moment. So it does lead me to believe that there are going to be a few people that aren't ready to pass through those gates yet, who might decide at the last minute, hey, I'm going to ascend. I don't want to continue learning. But, you know, we are seeing that migration. We're seeing that split. And those of us who are deciding to move into 5D, we've made that decision. We are now employing the Atlantean blueprint that we created for ourselves in that time. That's what lights you up. It's what lights me up. It's what lights everybody else up that is doing this, whether they have those memories or recollections or not. It's happy days.
Absolutely. And those who are listening or watching this and are still kind of, well, can I do this? Is this, kind of deciding this is the moment you can decide, you can join us in the 50.
Yeah, do it.
It's okay. It's beautiful. It's freedom. It's joy compared to, of course, it's still human life. We still have struggles, like we talked about, it's still human experience because we are still in human body with all the challenges that come with it. And this kind of physical dimension, the physical dimension.
Yeah.
But it's so much lighter, and we wish all the 2 billion people will join us too, who are.
That was my original plan. When Archangel Michael said, look, you've got a big role to play in this. This is like you're going to have a lot of responsibility. And at the time, I wasn't kind of ready. I wasn't really ready to hear it. I liked what I was hearing, but it also invoked a huge sense of like, oh my God, what have I let myself in for, kind of thing. I thought my immediate response to him at the time was, well, that's not enough, that's 6 billion people, but what about the rest of them? The target is to actually raise the level of consciousness enough on this planet to take the other people through, but it's not taking into consideration soul choices, because obviously soul choices, you decide upon your incarnation here what you are going to do, what you're going to learn, and what you're going to achieve. And if that doesn't include going into 5D, then so be it.
So Tim, like we're talking, you're an incredibly high vibrational soul, and just joy to connect with, and actually make my third eye, like I'm feeling, actually that happens every time we talk. I feel like in my chakra, I feel a shift. So thank you for your light in this world. But
thank you.
Hear about like how you, like your childhood, or like were you always a sensitive child, or is this new?
No, none of this is new. This has been kind of the full 47 years of my life. I've had continual experiences as a youngster. It's one of the stories I tell at my workshops about kind of, most of us are born sensitive, but due to our social conditioning, our parental choices, that can either be supported or it can be shut down. Luckily, my parents were hippies, and they were into the transcendental meditation. And when I was seeing and hearing things, and when I was very kind of, basically, you're a kid, you're frightened of your surroundings. As a child, it's a parent's job to nurture and protect their child. So if, I was feeling scared by my surroundings, I wasn't comfortable with all of this kind of sensory input that I had. And luckily, my parents were fairly supportive. They weren't clued up, they weren't knowledgeable in the things that I was seeing, but they were open-minded. They were meditators. Their hippie friends were meditators, and I had this kind of relatively peaceful environment around me that didn't shut me down. So that was a bonus. I chose to kind of close myself off in my teens, which I've heard many people do, because being a teen is hard. And you've got to be a teenager, haven't you, at the end of the day? Being a teenager is one of the most challenging aspects of human life. So you
want to belong with everybody else.
Like, no one understands you, you know what I mean? That's the way it is. Yeah. So I threw myself into sport. I became a cyclist and got very good at it as well. I was riding at elite level by the time I was 17. Winning races, was planning to go and race professionally in France when I had an accident, and it was a near-death experience. It completely re-altered every part of my life. And
when was this? This was like you were like
just before my 18th birthday. It was 1990, and I was out riding in southern England.
You were shaking really early.
Yeah, really early. This was like, this was kind of like it turned my life upside down on a spiritual level, because, but the right way up.
Yeah.
I was out training on a hot summer's night. It was, I think it's the 2nd of August. It was, we were having a heat wave in England, and anybody who was in England in 1990 will remember how good the summer was. It was perfect. And I rode down from the hills that I'd been training in, and I hit a tractor at 35 mile an hour. And 1990, we didn't have to wear cycling helmets. It was advised, but it wasn't a legality. So I had no headwear on, and I hairline fractured my skull, and I was kind of what you'd call clinically dead for 20 minutes in the road. The ambulance couldn't find a pulse, and I was having that very stereotypical light at the end of the tunnel experience. I was riding on my bike down a road that's familiar to me locally, in this lovely sunny kind of sun going down setting, and I had no intention of coming back. It was beautiful. I could feel this pull towards the light, and of course it wasn't my time, so I was dragged back into my body, and had to kind of spend a couple of days in hospital and recovered. But after that, that's when things changed. I started kind of looking for spiritual information, so I started reading all my parents' books, and first ones I found were
like immediately you started like feeling that pull.
It's what we call the seeking phase, when you're seeking answers, you're seeking validation and information. So I read all of the Carlos Castaneda books that my mum had on her shelf, and that taught me about dimensions and how you can interact with other dimensions very, very easily. So that was the first kind of tick in the energy box, like I understand how it all works. And even if I wasn't taking peyote in order to do so, I still understood how it all worked. So yeah, it was good. And just things kind of rolled from strength to strength, really. From 20 to 30, I was kind of seeking but enjoying being 20 years old. And read a lot of books. I read all of Joshua David Stone's books that he had available at the time. That's when I discovered Diana Cooper's work. So it was when I read her information about angels and ascension that I kind of lit up like a Christmas tree, and it was like, right, okay, these are the answers that I need. This is what I'm going to be into. Yeah. And so it's that's the start of the merry journey, really.
Yeah, and then you met Diana, I guess, in 2008, or this is like
we met in 2003.
Oh, okay.
2003.
Oh, so you've known a really long time, and then you just. So when did you discover Atlantis? That you have Atlantean.
This is a big part of it. Like everyone's got a major awakening, but I kind of had two of them. The first one was hitting the tractor. That was a bit more of an I think that was more of a rewiring. I think when I was out of my body for 20 minutes, somebody got in there and wired me up differently. I think that was the intention of that one. My major awakening happened in 2008. My marriage dissolved overnight. I wound up living back at my mother's with all of my clothes in bin liners, which was like even with spiritual training, you're still asking, you're asking a lot of questions. You want to know why, what have you done wrong, what's going on. But all the time I knew there was a mission plan kind of thing. But one morning I was meditating at my mum's, just about to get up and go to work. I used to run a gardening business back in those days, and Archangel Michael came to me. And I'm not a terribly visual person. I'm not one of these lucky people that, I can see a dragon. I feel it all. So it was when he appeared in my third eye. It was almost like I had my eyes closed. I was meditating, and everything went blue, like bright blue. Almost it wasn't enough to shock me out of my meditation, but it was enough to seriously get my attention. And he presented me with a blue orb, and he said, "This is yours." Said this was yours in Atlantean times. These are clear words that I remember, and I'll always remember them until my last physical day on this planet, because it was so clear. And he placed it in my soul star, right there, just above the top of my head. And I watched this kind of cocoon surround me. And he said that was yours in Atlantean times. He said you were a high priest in Atlantis. This was one of the energy tools that you used to keep yourself safe. And at this particular moment in time, you clearly need help. And now you're using this. You can stop asking me for assistance 50 times a day. It's part of your self-mastery. So get on and use it. So
and just to be clear, angels are okay for us to ask them, but they want to empower us so that we don't.
Yeah, I was nagging him on a daily basis because of my personal circumstances. Archangel Michael.
I've done that too.
So he was kind of lovingly just handing me back my power or a tool to use my own power. And the interesting part about it was this was the start of my Atlantean journey. It was at this point that Diana started receiving messages from Archangel Metatron about who I was in Atlantean times, what it is going to mean for my personal journey on this planet. And it was a lot to take in, considering that I like, you know, my marriage of 14 years had kind of dissolved and there were 2 children involved, and all of a sudden I'm receiving all of this information. It was a lot to integrate. So I kind of did what I do best. I went insular. You know, I cocooned myself off a little bit and just integrated. And I would speak to Diana on a regular basis and she would give me more information. And it wasn't long after this, she gave me her book, Discover Atlantis, which, you know, it hadn't been written that long. I'd already read it cover to cover several times and loved it. But she said, you need to go away on your own, away from everything for a couple of days, and you need to reread this. Okay, these are my instructions via Archangel Metatron. And when you discover who you are, when you remember who you are, you'll know. So off I went to Devon with my bike for a couple of days, sat and reread Discover Atlantis in my hotel room, bang, and it hit me. So, and that was the start of it. That's when I realized or remembered or started to remember who or what I was during that Atlantean era, during particularly the golden era. You know, that's the era that we focus on. So
rise up to it again and do this work.
Yeah, and that was the whole point of it, was to give me a good shove and return that kind of energy to me. But
do you feel like you've embodied most of it or all of it? Like, how do you feel right now that the high priest in you is, like, how is it fully activated, or are you still working on?
I'd say it's here 100%, but I'm also very aware these are very different times.
Yes.
You know, much as I'd like to swan round in my lovely blue robe with the golden sun on it, I'm sat here in my green hoodie, my green sort of top. You know, times have changed, and society is very, very different. We had a society in Atlantean times where you and I would have been kind of like, we would have been ahead of our temples or working with priests, priestesses, initiates, but you know, it was a closed society. It was a biosphere of our own reality. Here we've got a whole planet, okay, and the whole planet is very, very different from the reality that we had in those days. And the idea is to turn it into a balanced society with the same technology, the love, the connectivity, and the advancements that we had in this time. And who knows where we're going with it. You know, it's going to be an interesting ride.
Yeah, I feel like right now this time is so exciting. Like, I don't feel like it could go either way. I definitely feel like we've chosen light already. That's done. We are moving forward. But the times ahead are not going to be easy for those who haven't chosen. That's my feeling. And and our work becomes even more important. And for all the authors, like anybody who's watching and feeling maybe an activation of, oh, I've been a priestess, I have a light work, I feel the calling, like to really step up and start doing it. We need everybody. That's what I'm feeling like. We maybe not everybody has the same type of grand awakening or shaking from the universe as you've had, and I've also had my share of those. But if we feel the calling to really do that, because we need to get everybody on board, and I feel like I'm meeting people from who I've worked with. Like I'm sure I've known you in Atlantis, and other souls also. I feel like we're coming at the same time.
It's a grand regathering.
Yes.
Basically, it's like a school reunion, but on a much bigger level, on a soul level.
Yes.
And
inviting everybody to join us.
Yeah, totally, but you're absolutely right. It's all hands on deck now. This is the message that I've been getting very, very strongly this year. Is it doesn't matter how small or large you feel that your role is. Your role is a vital and unique key to what is going on this planet. So, you know, even for people who are still kind of working behind the scenes, what you're doing is very, very powerful. You know, every single time you focus on moving this planet forward, the planet moves forwards. The energy around us responds instantaneously. It's unequivocal now, and we're not going back. You're absolutely right. We've well past that pivotal point where it could go either way. That was never the plan. You know, we were never kind of planning to move back into 3D again. We're going into 5D. We're keeping a step with a planet that's made a decision, and there's no human consciousness combined with anything in this universe that can stop that happening. So we are here for the ride. We are the architects. We're the boots on the ground. But it's got to the point now where this planet is being microwaved by the energies that are coming in from the higher realms. You know, this is why people are feeling so wired. This is why the days move so fast. You know, it's just one download after another. You know, there's no such thing as just a normal moon anymore. They're all super moons and super astrological alignments, and it's for those of you out there that feel that you need a bit of a break. If you need a break, take a break. You know, give yourself a little bit of you time, ground, drink water, love yourself, go out in nature. Do not be kind of worried about taking a little bit of time out, because our bodies are keeping up with a huge change energetically. That's very important at the moment. If you need to duck out for a couple of days, do it. You know what I mean?
Yes. And the acceleration, like, think about that. You mentioned 1990 and like 80s and like early 90s, and how the time, like, when you're just thinking about it, how different that feels. Like, slower and more simpler. I mean, life always brings challenges and all these things, but
nothing like this.
It's like a spring felt like a long time. Now it's like spring. Oh, it's already summer. Where did the spring go?
Right.
But while we're going really fast forward, it feels like everything is accelerating. It's been accelerating for many years now. But at the same time, it feels like we're moving forward very fast, but somehow we're getting younger. Do you feel that?
Yeah. I totally dig that. It's energetically, everything is becoming lighter. Okay, it might not feel like it because everybody around you is dropping density, but if you're the second you put yourself into this higher stream of energy, age and time and kind of like the 3D restrictions that we've had become irrelevant. And at that point, you know, that's when the manifestation of how your soul feels becomes relevant, as opposed to your physical earthly self becoming relevant. You know, that's the difference. And naturally, we're feeling kind of disassociated or younger. You know, there's no age in 5D or in the non-physical realms. It doesn't. It's just not part of our fabric of our consciousness.
Yeah, it feels that there's some kind of disconnect with the 3D aging, and while we're still aging, there's still that's happening, but it's a different. It feels very, very different.
It does. It
And
does.
it
Yeah.
just doesn't feel real that like like this not happening, but it feels like, is it really like real even? Like, do we need to? I feel like in Atlantis we lived hundreds of years,
We
and
did.
what do you remember from that? Like,
I remember the healing aspect of our golden era was so advanced that aging and kind of the mortality was removed from our experience to a certain degree, because we had the temple of healing, the temple of sound, and this incredible crystal technology, and you could repair the DNA within a body in a matter of minutes. So, you know, whatever we were going through, obviously the Atlanteans were part of the you know, we lived on a 3D planet at the time, and aging was part of living on a 3D planet. That's what actually physically would happen to people here. And but because of the advancements in our technology, we were able to basically refresh or regenerate our physical selves. And I remember very distinctly a pool which we would submerge ourselves in, also described in the kind of in the emerald tablets as the rivers of Amenti. And these waters of regeneration were how we would basically almost rearrange the DNA and the molecular structure of our body. So it was firing on all four cylinders again. And this would be employed whenever we were ill, where somebody had an accident, or any other aspect of it. It was just a simple way of keeping yourself in prime condition. And the human body is actually designed to live for 300 years without all of the restrictions and the kind of the other things that we have around us. So life was a lot longer.
do you feel like, do you see that we would be in this life, we will be living longer, like 200 years or 300 years?
I sincerely hope so. Yeah, I can't see that personally. You know, obviously my own mortality is part of my consciousness because I'm human. But you know, I do think we're going to be seeing a significant shift in the length of time that people live for. At the moment, we've got a planet which is kind of ruled by allopathic medicine and pharmaceutical, which is not helping people on a physical level. If it was combined with spirituality and spiritual healing, it would become very, very powerful, because there's a place for both of them in this world. At the moment, one is kind of governing the entire kind of earthly process. And people are waking up to the fact that that is not what their bodies need. You know, you can't cover a symptom up with pills and antibiotics, and you have to get to the root source of the healing. So when people realize or learn or remember that we have to treat our bodies in a certain way, they will learn to live longer, because there won't be the restrictions that we have anymore.
Yeah, and not just longer, but actually happy and in that higher vibrational frequency. That's the key. Okay. I don't feel like many people want to live in the 3D for too long. That's why the lifespan is so short, because you know, you're ready to leave.
It's a tough place to be, you know what I mean? You know, like life in 3D was challenging.
Yeah.
You know, back in the Middle Ages, you'd be lucky if you hit 40, sort of thing. It'd be, and so we're moving out of it.
How do you feel like you were talking about, like getting into that like stream of energy, like that 5D flow, kind of that rising up to it and being in that, like living your life through that energy? How does one get to like create that shift for themselves?
It's a conscious choice via the power of intention, because it's not something that we have to seek out anymore, because that energy is all around us. It's how you choose to be during the course of your day that defines the energy that you live in. Me personally, I like tools. I like to wake up in the morning. I like to put my feet on the floor or outside if it's not chucking down with rain, and activate my Earth Star. And I ground my Earth Star into my perfect vibration, which is holding as much light within my body as possible. But I also like to anchor myself into the basically the 5D lay system of our planet. So whatever Earth is doing, I'm kind of in on the action, if you know what I mean. But you're also not out of alignment with that, of the the more in alignment you are with the cycles that are going on around us energetically, the easier your ascension ride is going to be, because the planet is supportive of a 5D vibration now. The previous 3D blueprint is being dissolved, it is being removed, but on a step-by-step process. The people who are still living in 3D are finding it increasingly difficult. So the more you dip into that 3D energy, the more difficult it becomes. There's a big field of it to tap into, don't get me wrong. If you want to live in 3D, it will still be thoroughly supported for you, because that blueprint is being held together by all the people who haven't kind of aligned themselves yet. But the 5D one is also here in abundance. So if you choose to step into that energy, it is there and it is instantaneous. And you just align yourself to that energy. It's like getting into a warm bath kind of thing. You know, like first of all, it's a bit hot, and then all of a sudden your body gets used to it. And just keep on doing it. The thing is, with this pathway, with this process comes self-discipline. You have to be disciplined about this. You can't just do it once or twice and then think it's going to work for you. You've got to keep at it. Okay, you've got to make it part of your conscious day to make sure that your vibration is staying high, because otherwise it will dip to whatever else is around you. If you keep your vibration high, everything else around you rises to your vibration, which means everything moves faster. That's how we do the job, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, beautiful. How I'm listening, like how a lot of people who come to me as students or followers, I've noticed that there's one thing that is challenging them a lot. And, you know, they want to do the work and they do the work, but they feel that lack of self-confidence in doing that is hindering them, or making them feel like, well, I'm doing all this work, but then that lack of self-confidence is kind of always keeping them at in place. What would you say to what would be, is there some practices that you suggest, or what do you do when this happens? Or
this is, for me, it's one of the biggest initiations on the spiritual pathway, and it's little wonder that people are challenged by this, because it's all based in the throat chakra, and it's the initiation of speaking your truth. Okay, once you have learned to speak your truth, all of that evaporates, because what people the confidence blockage for people at the moment, particularly the light workers, is knowing what we know, feeling what we feel, knowing that this is all going on around us, but being surrounded by people that they don't think want to listen. And yeah, like, you know, sometimes I've heard many stories of people who are they're wide awake, but their husband, their partner, their brothers, their sisters, their family are being obtrusive, you know, like they're not being helpful. And this is the point where that initiation becomes like, well, I'm going to stand in my light and I'm going to speak my truth regardless of what people at work think about me, what people in my family think about me. And there's no dodging the bullet. You've got to kind of stand up and you've got to speak your truth. Whatever that truth might not be my truth, it might not be your truth, but it's your personal truth, how you see and how you feel yourself as a spiritual individual. You stand in your power. So it's reclaiming our power. It's actually realizing that we are not limited individuals and that we're here as a part of a massive process. And, you know, sometimes it's a case of maybe being a little bit kind of aware of other people's energies and kind of and adapting to them. And other times it's you've simply got to stand your ground and say who you are, what you believe in, and it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks at this point, because once you've made that decision, it's actually quite a powerful initiation, because you return the power to your throat. You know, our throats have been kind of, they've been running on 2 cylinders instead of 4 since the fall of Atlantis. Many of us had these collars placed around us so that we couldn't speak our truths, or if we did speak our truth, the power wasn't there. It was like they shut down that physical chakra. The throat is the one way that you can physically communicate with the world around you and actually change the vibration of things. So that is a very physical way of interacting with the world. So we had these collars placed around us so that we couldn't use our Atlantean power to the degree that we could have done when we had to step down to 3D. So people are coming out of that, and they're also coming out of 10,000 years of persecution. Like, 2,000 years ago, if you spoke your truth, you might have got yourself burnt at the stake or hung or any other thing. So there's this fear. It's a fear program that we're working through, and there's no real kind of way of navigating it apart from like use your intuition and stand your ground, speak your truth, like, be the person who you are. And the rest of the world around you will realign to your frequency once you've made that decision. But I understand how challenging it is, because I had to do it myself.
Yeah, I've really had to work with my throat chakra also, and I used to be really shy and definitely would not be speaking in front of like 1,000 people, where we met, where we shared the stage.
I know, it was incredible, wasn't it?
Like, no, I would be dying or fainting, or I really had to work on that. But now, of course, I love it. It feels like when you liberate that area, it just brings you confidence. Wow, I didn't even think like that's so 100%. Like, it feels when you started saying like yes, that's exactly where the confidence comes from. You learn to speak your truth.
Yeah, it's the biggest challenge for us at the moment.
Yeah. So how would you like, how to practice that, how to activate that?
It's in a lot of the universe will present each personal situation because it is an initiation. It's all of the chakras contain initiations. 4 of them are massive because they are the ones that govern the interaction that we have with the world around us. Third eye, throat, solar plexus, and sacral. Those 4 chakras are the ones that really, for me personally, I've seen so many different people kind of like having these earthly challenges kind of presented to them. And so but the throat is the biggest because it's much easier just to keep your gob shut and not speak your truth in a difficult situation until it's presented to you 10 times. And you've got to speak up because the situation's just getting more and more kind of volatile and pressurized for you. It's a case of, it's reclaiming personal power. So many people feel powerless because we have been indoctrinated into a society that has taught us to be powerless. That was what happened at the fall of Atlantis. We chose to spend 10,000 years in 3D. It was a very dense 10,000 years, and there were haves and there were have-nots, and usually the have-nots were the ones that weren't allowed to speak and protest or kind of, and it's been going on and on and on for a very long time. It's speaking and using your power now that is going to change this planet. Because there's scenarios going on everywhere where the people in power are clinging on like by their fingernails because they know what's going on here. They know this planet is moving into 5D, and they're trying to keep what they've had since the fall of Atlantis, and it's disappearing. Every single light worker that wakes up and speaks their truth dissolves that illusion a little bit more. So this is why it's happening. This is why it's such a tough one, such a tough nut to crack.
Yes, I just thank you for sharing all of this wisdom. It feels like chills, and I feel really like very good, like important information is coming through. How do you see that now that we are working like on opening that and aligning and rising ascending our energy to the 5th dimension and beyond, how do you see that the world is going to look like? What is your vision of this new?
It's going to be a lot kinder here. It's going to be a lot. People are, there's, even though things look really kind of bad out there, in many places. You don't have to look far. All you need to do is turn the news on, and it can drop your energy like a rock in a pond, sort of thing. But these things are happening. We can't ignore the fact that these things are happening on the planet. We have to be aware of them. We have to, that's where you point your light at the end of the day. And everything is coming to a peak. Okay, it's almost like the end days for the vibrational structure that supported war, poverty, division, and like even down to the fine points of 5G and weather manipulation. These are all last ditch attempts to kind of keep hold of this crumbling kind of sphere of 3D power. It's going, it's disappearing before our eyes. And it's when this disappears, it's going to be we're going to be left with a planet full of people who are aware of each other, who are aware of what each other needs. They're going to be operating from a point of love rather than a point of ego. Ego will still be there, don't get me wrong. Just because we're going into 5D doesn't mean that the ego is going to go off somewhere on holiday and we're not going to be kind of graced with its presence anymore. Because even in 9D, like we're still going to have that ego blueprint with us, but we won't be functioning from it. We'll be functioning from our hearts. And this is where the shift will be so colossal, because a planet full of people who are in tune with their heart centers will not be acting in a way that they have been. It's just going to be totally different. It's an inside shift. It's an inside shift of consciousness that will manifest very subtly but very powerfully in our surroundings, and you can see those shifts already. You can do the huge kind of personal care movement, the huge kind of like the everybody's stream of consciousness is going towards looking after themselves more, kind of raising their personal vibration. There's a huge vegan movement, and although there's people can say, well, it's somebody just making money at the end of the day, it's fashionable. I don't think it is fashionable. These shifts are here to stay. They're different layers of what we are going to be building into our new societies. So it is a process. It's a building process. You can't just change it overnight.
Yeah, absolutely. So you since you've been working with Diana Cooper, are you still working with her? Are you creating your own books, or what's happening with that?
I've kind of run out of writing time a little bit at the moment. We decided before Christmas that we were going to write a third Archangel guidebook together, and then we kind of realized by February that it was like we just didn't have the time to kind of get together. She lives Diana Cooper lives at least 2 hours away from me now, and so to write a book with her, we'd have to either do it online like we're talking here on Zoom, or I'd have to be kind of backwards and forwards. And before, when we wrote the other two books, she lived very close to me, so it was easy. I just went 2 miles down the road and we'd spend half a day kind of getting the chapters organized and together, and it was simple. But we do Zoom workshops together, and it was only, I think, November last year we shared a stage for 2 days in Germany, which was lovely. We did the workshops together. So yeah, we work together a lot. But she's got her projects and I've got my projects, so it's.
So what is this new information that you're bringing? Like, what is the message that you're
at the moment? It's practical and grounded, okay, because that's where we need to be. We are manifesting. We are bringing this energy in, but we've got to ground it in, and we've got to use it kind of sensibly and with kind of a practical, forward moving and structure to everything that we do. If we live with our head in the clouds, that's great, but you've got to bring that energy to earth, and you've got to ground it in, because this is where the action is. This is where all the changes are occurring.
I love it, because it's nice to fly out there and be in like that spiritual realm, but what's the point of being in the human body? We could just stay on the other side and do that.
Yeah, totally.
Here. Yeah, I love it. I'm so excited. So I was wondering if you can, if you have a practice or meditation or an activation you can share, and stage is yours. If there's any, do you have something in mind that you could maybe?
Yeah. I mean, I like working with my heart center basically because I mean it's very, very easy to do. Or you just basically the one of the first. There's I find setting your day is the most powerful act that you can do because we wake up and we set the vibration of our day within the first 30 seconds of us kind of opening our eyes and staggering to the kettle kind of thing. So this is what I like to do. I like to get out of bed in the morning. I like to stand there and I like to take 5 deep breaths with my hand over my heart, sort of breathing in through my nose, out through my mouth. And I call in the highest frequencies that are available in my surroundings at this time. And I usually like to ask Archangel Metatron to bring this light in for me from the great central sun. And I feel it moving into my stellar gateway chakra, a meter above the top of my head, through my soul star, my causal chakra just above the top of my head, my crown, my third eye, my throat. And just allow that energy to pause for a minute in your heart center. Take another deep breath in. Breathe out and feel your heart chakra opening at a 5th dimensional frequency. It's like a huge white orb of pure light within the center of your chest. Just open that heart center and let it shine. And then allow the energy to continue moving down through your solar plexus, your navel, your sacral, your base. Allow it to move gently down your legs to the soles of your feet and anchor into your Earth Star chakra. Now ask your Earth Star chakra to hold you in the perfect 5th dimensional vibration for you, your physical, mental, emotional, and your spiritual bodies for all times. And feel your Earth Star just flowing down and joining the higher energy structures of Gaia, Mother Earth. And then just gently come back to where you are and open your eyes. And you'll find yourself glowing very, very brightly.
Thank you for that. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
And
that's how I like to start my day, basically. That sets the tone. Bosh.
And it doesn't take much to raise the frequency, to bring the peace.
No, it's a quick process. It's a lot of us are short of time nowadays. We've got jobs to do. We've got kids that are demanding our attention, or we simply are. We've you know the things sort of like take. We seem to just have less time for our practices. So that is something which sets the tone for your day instantaneously, and then you build on that, you maintain it. So
yeah. Do you like to do longer meditations, or do you like to do like quick alignments like this more?
I like to do quick alignments, but if I get the time, I like to do the longer meditations. I like to kind of work again with the chakras, but usually kind of with an energy that is around me at the time. You know, sort of like, say we've got light coming in from the great central sun, if we've got a full moon, anything that's kind of in our concert, or say you get to August, you've got 3 weeks of the Lion's Gate, you work with that energy. Whatever's coming in at that particular time, tune into it. You don't have to have a strict routine. You don't have to kind of just be open to the flows that are around us at the moment. Yeah. It's very, very important because there's so much energy coming in. Just be acquainted with it, unify with it, and things become very easy.
Yeah, I love it, because I'm not a big meditator in terms of, like, some people meditate an hour in the morning, hour in the day. Like, I like to do quick alignments and just kind of overall during the day. I feel like I'm constantly in that spiritual vibration. So
Yeah,
maybe that's also what's changing in the new energy, the
I
new
think so.
frequency, that we don't need to, we're not taking time away from life to be
No,
spiritual. We're bringing it to whatever we're doing, when we're eating, when we're talking with friends, when we're walking out. It's kind of
yeah,
always there, and you can anytime kind of check in. Like what the practice you did, I'm still feeling the thing. I still feel that energy,
good.
and it's probably going to be there for hours.
Oh
That
yeah, yeah.
that energy. So
If you
it
ever feel it
doesn't
drop,
really.
just top it up. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, of course, you can just have enjoy like more time
what
of.
you just described is perfectly kind of what I feel at the moment. It's life is a walking meditation. Basically, every minute of our day
Mhm.
is in some way dedicated to our spiritual progress, whether we're kind of driving the car to the shops, or whether we're kind of doing our spiritual jobs, or whether we're doing our non-spiritual jobs. Everything can be turned into a walking meditation. It's a conscious process. So
Mm.
yeah,
It's real. It's great to hear that you also do like these quick things, because I was
mm.
wondering like, should I force myself? But it just doesn't feel right. It feels like I just want to be in that energy, like
Yeah.
I go out and I can. Yeah, I'm kind of one of those people sometimes like, oh, dragon, it's kind of always there, and there's no right or wrong way of doing spirituality. For some people, maybe they need this longer, but for those who are dreading it, like I don't want to, it's too hard raising my vibration, but it's
No,
not, it's just these
no.
little things.
Things are very different now. This is, like I think we both need to sort of like make it's why people are feeling like this, why you're feeling like this, why I'm feeling like this. It's because the energy now is very different. We're not having to try to connect anymore. Before in 3D, you used to have to spend a lot of time pulling that energy in for yourself. Now it's here, it's at our fingertips, it's everywhere around us. It's such a different planet to be living on.
Yes. Do you have anything else, anything here at the end that you want to share? Any message that comes through, or anything you want to
Be
guide?
confident and positive with this process. It's very easy to look at what's going on around us and kind of feel disheartened. Very importantly, when I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago, when I was having one of my conversations with Serapis Bay, he's like, comes in occasionally and kind of like gives me a pep talk and disappears again. This was just before I kind of started getting out there and doing the writing and the speaking that I do now. He said, look for the miracles within the madness. Okay, I remember his words very, very clearly. If it all depends on what you're looking for, okay, because whatever you look for, you will find. So be vigilant, look for high vibrations, look for awakened people, look for love, look for peace, look for unity, look for the signs of life. It's like early spring. You've got to look for the buds on the trees that are just starting to come through. They've had one sunny day and then it goes back to being cold again. The more you look for it, the more you'll see. So change your focus. If you're a light worker who's struggling with positivity at the moment, things seem quite negative, or realign yourself with a positive picture. I know there is a kind of a big push to be realistic out there. I'm a big one for that. But how you focus your reality is all important, because you will receive what you are looking for. Where your attention goes, energy flows. So put your energy in the right place. Keep your light high, keep your frequency clear, and your manifestation sharp. That's just generally how it works.
Thank you, Tim. And your website, can you plug it?
Yeah, if you want to find me on kind of the interweb of all things, I'm on www.timwild.com. I'm very active on my Facebook page, Tim Wild Practical Ascension, and that is kind of where I share all my kind of daily nuggets, all kind of 3 daily nuggets of wisdom, depending on how busy I am and how things are going on. And I run Zoom workshops once a month, and I have physical workshops. I'm running 2 in August in England. I'm in Finland in September. Then I'm going to Cyprus in October. I'm in Yorkshire in England in November. So yeah, if you want to know more, if you want to connect, then have a look at my website, because it's all there.
Love it. Thank you so much.
And it's been an absolute pleasure this morning. Lovely, thank you.
So wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that was beautiful. Great energy and great information, and I feel like this is going to be really helpful.
Oh,
are you?
yeah.
Oh, what a timing!
I didn't silence my phone. Sorry.
That was quite a timing, anyway, for that one.
Yeah. Well,
you didn't start when you were just talking. So you're working on a new book. That's really cool.
I'm thinking about it. It's just, my time has just gone completely out the window. I don't get as much writing time as anywhere near as much as I need. So I would need a good few months clear space to write a book, and I just simply don't have that at the moment. So I'm just kind of.
I've been struggling with the same. My Atlantis book that I talked about years ago to you, that was already then overdue.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do about it. Like I mean, I'm teaching it every day. I'm living it every day, and
I think that's where it is then at the moment. Yeah. I think that's where it is. I think that's what you need to be doing.
Yeah, right now. Yeah, but I still feel the call. Gabriel used to always tap, like, okay, let's go. He's not doing that anymore.
Come on, get on with it.
Like, okay, I'm out. Yeah. She's not doing it yet.
No.
No, it was more like do it, and then it's hard to find time. We're so busy. There's so many other things, and you're traveling a lot.
This is what takes my time and energy. Traveling uses a lot of that. And come back, and you've got to recover and get back to kind of family life again, and before you know it, it's the end of the month, isn't it? And it all starts again.
Right. And all the things you need to do, like plan the Zoom, and
I've managed to streamline it now, but it's I could do with another day in the week.
So I want to, like, you're in September in Finland, because I'm going to be here again at the end of September.
On the 21st to the 23rd.
Okay, are you leaving on the 23rd already?
Yeah,
going back?
I'll have to check my exact dates, and then I'll let you know, because obviously I fly out. It's a day's travel, 2-day workshop, and then I fly back again the following day, sort of thing. So.
I wish there was time to meet up, but I don't know if they're going to like line up exactly, and how busy you're going to be also.
I do get kind of space in the evenings, but.
Are you in Helsinki?
I am in Lahti.
Actually, that might. Lahti. I'm in Lahti right now.
Hey, nice.
My mom lives here, so that's perfect.
Yeah.
So maybe like because then if I come like a week before, 23rd, you said?
I think so. I'll have to double check my.
I think that works actually perfectly. Like if you have time, let's meet up.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Definitely.
Great. So I was just asking, like, we were talking about all these people that reconnected or I was connecting in Atlantean time, like you, but I've always like seen. You've worked with Birken Tor.
Yeah, I did a few Zooms with him last year, actually, or quite a few Zooms. So
I've never talked to him. I've never gotten to interview. I don't know if you can like connect us so I could do this interview with him as well, if he's interested.
I'd be more than happy to. I'll ping him a message, and I'll say, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because I feel like he's the way he looks exactly like the priests in Atlantis, like the Pleiadian priests in Atlantis. Like those are the ones who were really holding that frequency, like I would be very curious to see. I've never watched his like any videos, but always his image. Oh, he looks like a Pleiadian. Who is he? Palladian?
I'm not sure where he's from, but what I will do, when we sign off, I will send you one of the Zooms that we did together, so you can have a look at him and how we interact with each other, and
Yeah.
get a feel for his energy. So
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, I would love to have an interview with him. Does Diana do any interviews? Like,
I'm not sure, but I'm sure she would.
Yeah,
Of course she does interviews. Yeah, definitely. So
yeah,
pop
yeah,
it
like,
in.
right. But sometimes she might take time off, or
She takes a bit. She does try and be a little bit careful with her schedule, and then all of a sudden, wallop, it goes through the roof, kind of thing. So yeah,
I'd love to do an interview with her too. So I'm looking for, like, if you have any other people that you feel like, wow, that would be great. You can connect.
I know a few people, which I'll send you over a few names. Actually, there's a lady who lives locally to me called Sarah Williams, she's very on the ball. She'd be a good one to interview. So
Great.
definitely.
Okay. Yay, we're meeting.
Oh,
I'm excited.
talking to you this morning. I've got to get back to my daily routine.
Yes, of course.
Called from above.
Oh, I know. Okay, thank you.
Lots of love.
Send me the link to this recording, since it's going to your.
As soon as it comes through, I'll send it to you, because obviously it's been recorded on my account, so I'll send it straight over to you. And it's been an absolute pleasure connecting with you this morning. It really has.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.